Okay, so for question 1, we basically just need to compare the numbers, and after comparison, you'll find out that the correct answer is B. And question 2, so what I did is basically counting. So it is asking how many of these 30 squares are shaded. So like we basically just count all of those shaded squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's 15. So the value of 2 to the power of 3 minus 2 plus 3 is a minus 2 plus 3, and it equals to 6 plus 3, and it is 9. Okay, so for question 4, it is asking us to solve an algebra. So first we can start from the value of the triangle, and it is 5 minus 3 equals to 2. So, and then we just basically replace all of the value of the triangle with number 2. And so this is 2 plus what equals to 7, and we can easily find out that this is 5. And then we basically do the addition. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 5 plus 5. So that is 6, and that is 10. So this equals to 10 plus 6 equals to 16, and that's E. Okay, so the expression 3 out of 10 plus 3 out of 100 and plus 3 out of 1,000 is equal to, so we know that 3 out of 10 is 0.300, and 3 out of 100 is 0.030, and then 3 out of 1,000 is 0.003, and then we basically just add them up, and this equals to 0.333, and that is A. Okay, so for question 6, it is asking us if 1/3 of x equal to 4, and then 1/6 of x is equal to. So what I did is basically I just solved for x, and then because 1/3 of x equals to 4, so then we can just basically solve for x, and we know that x equals to 12, right? And then we just basically use 12 times 1/6, and that is 2. So the answer is 2. Question 7, so we basically just add all of those minutes up, and we will get our final answer. So we know that here is an hour, and 60 minutes equals to an hour. So like this is basically 2 hours. So like we know that 2 hours before 6:45 is 4:45. So the answer is A. Okay, so for question 8, so because we already know that the word rhombus has 7 letters, so we first need to find out the spaces left after we fill out the word rhombus into the line. And so we can just do 31 minus 7, and that is 24. And the next step is to find out the number of spaces on each side of the word. So we divide this by 2, and that is 12. And then because we know that there must be an equal number of spaces on each side of the word, so we know that like the word R, which is the first letter of the word rhombus, must be put at the space that is next to the 12th space. So that's the 13th space, and so the answer is B. For question 9, the easiest way to do it is basically just see the repeated sequence of 1 out of 7 as a whole. So now we can just solve the question as the same way that we use to solve all of those pattern questions. And yeah, so we just basically use 100 divide by how many number are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divide by 6. And we need to find out the remainder. And let's do the division really quickly. This one, 4, and that is 36, and the remainder is 4. This is 16, are 4, so we know that the remainder is 4, so this is basically the 4th digits of the sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so the answer is D. So for question 10, it is basically asking us for the parameter of the triangle ABC. So we know that the side length of each square is 1, so AB is 5 and BC is 8. So now we just need to find out the length of AC. According to Pythagorean theorem, we know that A squared plus B squared is C squared. So AC is the C squared in this case. So in order to find out the length of AC, we basically just first need to find out the value of C squared, and then we can just further do the square root. Okay, so C squared, which is AC, just AC squared, but basically just equals to AC squared equals to 5 squared plus 8 squared, and that is 25 plus 64, and that is 89. So AC equals to square root of 89, and I don't think I can simplify this. So now we know that this side is square root of 89. And so in order to find out parameter, we just basically add the 3 numbers up. And that is 13 plus square root of 89. And that is D. Question 11. So we know that, like, in order to find out the volume of a rectangular prism, we need to do multiplication. And then the question is asking us if we double the length and the width and tripling the height, then what is the value of the new prism? So because we know that in multiplication, the word doesn't matter, so we actually don't really need to find out the length, width, and height of the original prism. We can just basically just further do the 2 doubling and 1 tripling, and that is 12 times 12, and that is 144. So the answer is just 144. So we know that if a number is 3 and plus 1, then that number must equal to a multiple of 3 plus 1. So now what we need to do is basically just write all of the numbers below into the format of 3 and plus 1, and let's just see which number cannot be written in that format. So 31 is 3 times 10 plus 1. 94 is 3 times 31 plus 1. 131 equals to 3 times 43 plus 2, and 331 equals to 3 times 110 plus 1, and 907 equals to 3 times 302 plus 1, so the answer is D. So 13, the question is asking us for the rate of change. So what we need to do is basically subtract these 2 degrees and then find out difference of these two times, and then so we know that like the rate of change must be written in the format of degree over hour, so we can just do the subtractions. And so this is 16.2 minus negative 3.6 degree over 11. So why didn't I do the subtraction of time is because these two time are written in the format of base 24, so we cannot just do the subtraction as what we usually do in decimal base. So but we can just think of it in another way. So we know that like from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. is 12 hours. So 2 a.m. is just 1 hour less than 3 a.m. So here is 11 hours from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. So that is 11. And we can just basically calculate a result, and this is 16.2 plus 3.6 over 11, and that is 1.8. So that's B. And okay, 14. So in order to find out the probability that 2 of the 4 doors are open, the first thing we need to know is the number of ways that we can arrange these 4 doors. And so let's just draw a diagram. So just imagine that each line is a door, and we know that like a door can either be closed or open. So there are 2 ways to arrange one door, and here's 4 doors. So 2, 2, 2, 2. And so we multiply them, and that is 2 to the power of 4, which is 16. And then next step is to find out the numerator. So the numerator is the number of ways that we can arrange these 4 doors as 2 open, 2 closed. So we can list them up because there are not too many, but here I'm just gonna do a shortcut. So 4C2 is 4 times 3 divided by 2 times 1, and that is 12 divided by 2, and that is 6. So the final answer is 6 out of 16, and that is 3 out of 8. So that is A. 15. So we basically just try them out. So let's start from 24. So we know that 24 is 3 times 8, so that works. And 25, so we know that that is 5 times 5, so that works. 26, so we know that 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times 5 is 10, so that works. 27, I don't think it works. And 28, we know that 4 times 5 is 20, and 8 times 1 is 8, and so that works. And 29, I don't think it works, so here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's 4. So 16. So let this person be M, and this person be S, and we know that the amount of money that M got last month was 100 multiplied by 1 minus 25%, and the amount of money that S got was 100 times 1 plus 20%. So in total, we just sum them up, and this m plus s equal sign, and so we know that here is 85 and here is here is 120, and then we just add them up, and that is 205 e. So for question 17, we can easily notice that like the sum of the student who vote for both options are more than 100. So we basically, because we know that 68 plus 53 is 121. So, and then we also know that there are only 100 students who participated in the survey. So we basically just find a difference between 121 and 100, and that is 21. So we can conclude that there are 21 students who support both options. And so for question 18, we're told to find the value of x plus y. So we can just let this angle be P and this angle be Q. So we first know that like P and Q adds up to 100 degrees, and then we know that P plus 90 degree is x, and then Q plus 90 degree is y. So yeah, and because we need to find out the value of x plus y, so we add these two up, and then so x plus y is P plus 90 plus Q plus 90, and then we know that P plus Q is 100 degree. So this becomes 100 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 90 degrees, and that is 280. So the answer is 280. Okay, so question 19. We know that the original probability for Ellie to choose a red clip from all of those clips is 4 out of 16, and once it gets doubled, it becomes 1/2. And then we know that we need to find out the possible value of k. And since the amount of clips can only reduce and never increase, so we know that the denominator of the final probability must be an integer from 1 to 16. And now what we need to do is basically just to find out all the possible expressions of 1/2 with that condition. So first we have 1/2, then we have 2 out of 4, 3 out of 6, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 12, 7 out of 14, and then 8 out of 16. Okay, so because we only have 4 red clips, so all of those choices get eliminated. And then let's try this one. So when it has 8 clips in total, k equals to 8, but we don't have that choice, so let's try another one. So in this scenario, k equals to 10, and we don't have that choice either. And then let's try this one. In this case, k equals to 12, and yeah, here we go. We got that choice. And so question 20. So we know that the radius of these 4 congruent circles is 5, and so we can find out this is 10 and the square, so these are all 10s. And yeah, and then we need to find out the radius for a smaller circle, and this is r. So we basically need to find out the value of r. According to the Pythagorean theorem, we know that the diagonal of the circle, which is this line, must be square root of 10 squared plus 10 squared, and which is square root of 200. And then we know that this diagonal is composed by 5 plus 5, and 2r. So in order to find out the value of r, we basically need to subtract the 5, which is 10, from the square root of 200, and then we divide it by 2, because that's the value of 2r. If we just simply subtract the 10. And then we can just plug the numbers into the calculator, and then that should be 2.1. Question 21. So there isn't any way else besides to follow the procedure. Yeah, so let's just start with m equals 3. And then, so the first step is to write down the first number. And then we know that because 3 is an odd, so n equals 3 plus 1, and that is 4. And then step 3, we need to add up n, m, and 1. And that is 3 plus 4 plus 1, and that is 8. And 8 becomes the second term of the sequence. So we basically just follow this procedure until we get the 5th term of the sequence. So the final thing that we should get is this. So we know that like 43 is the final answer that we want, so here should be 43. Okay, so for question 22, we know that like we need to find out the possible value, the largest possible value for x and y. And then we also know that the value of the two squares should add up to the value of the circle in between them. So what I did here is to just basically make the pattern to seem more clear, and then so the bottom two numbers should add up to the top number. Let's just start from a relatively great number. Let's do 9 and 1. So this is 10. Then I'm just gonna write all of the numbers down in order to find out which number we didn't use it. Yeah, so we know, and we first cross out 1, 9, and 10, and then let's this be 4, and this be 5, and then we need to find another number, and then we know that 5, 4 cross out, and this add up to 6, and 2, 11 is 13. Yeah, we made it. So like this is the largest possible arrangement. So this is x, this is y, and 9 plus 11 is 20. So the answer of this question should be 20. So 23, let's just express those four numbers as integer a, b, c, and d. And after visualizing the relationship, we can get like these four equations. And the reason why is we know that a plus b plus c divided by 3 is 32, and so on. So we basically just move the 3 to the side, and it becomes a plus b plus c equals to 32 times 3, and that is 96. Yeah. And then we know that after we sum the 4 equations up, we got 3a plus 3b plus 3c plus 3d, and we add those numbers up, and that is 96 plus 117 plus 120 plus 132. And that is 465. So we know that. And so this equals to 3 times a plus b plus c plus d, and equals to 465. And then in order to get the sum of a plus b plus c, we divide 465 by 3, and that should be 155. And in order to find out and then we know that like a plus b plus c plus d is 155, and then we need to find out the largest number among them. So we just basically find a equation that has the least value, which is this one, and then we know that this is the sum of a plus b plus c, so the largest number should be d, and d equals to 155 minus 96, and that is 59. So the final answer is 59. 24. So we first know that the side length of the cube is 100. Just mark it down, and then we know that AP is x, AQ equals to x plus 1, and AR is x plus 1 out of 2x. And then, so first we need to calculate the volume of the pyramid, and then it equals to 1/3 of the base, so let's just write it as b, and then times height. We know that I'm just connected, so this is the pyramid, and then we need to find out the volume of it. So we know that the base is QAP, so which is x plus 1 times x, and then divide by 2. So that is x squared plus x, and divide by 2. Okay, so, and then we need to we need to multiply this by 1/3, and it is x squared plus x out of 6, and then we times the height, which is an x plus 1 out of 2x. It becomes 12x, so the denominator is 12x, and then the numerator is this times this, which is, actually you can simplify this. So we know that this is x plus 1, so then we can simplify the x, and then we know that after we multiply this, and this becomes 12 out of x plus 1 squared, right? And then we know that it says the volume of, so this equals to 0.04% to 0.08% of the volume of the cube, which is, so let me just write down the inequality. 400 is smaller or equals to x plus 1 squared out of 12, smaller or equals to 800. And then we know that x must be an integer. So let's just do the calculation. So first, let's solve for the first part. So we know that if 400 is smaller or equals to x plus 1 squared divided by 12, then 4800 equals to x plus 1 squared, and then we square root both sides, so it becomes 69.282 something, and so less or equals to x plus 1. And so we minus this, and so this is 68.282 something. This less or equals to x. We can also write it as like x is greater or equals to 68.282 something. And then we know that if we need to round this into an integer, then x must be greater or equals to 69. Okay, so, and then we can solve for the second part of the inequality, this part. So we know that x plus 1 squared out of 12 is less or equals to 800. And then we move this into the side, and we know that x plus 1 squared is less or equals to 800 times 12, and that is 9600. And then we square root both sides. X plus 1 is less or equals to 97.97 something, and then we know that x is less or equals to 96.97 or something. So if we want to round this number into an integer, or this inequality into an integer, then x must equal or less than 96. Yeah, so now we can just rewrite this estimated inequality. So can convert it back, and that is 69 is less or equal to x. Yeah, so, and let's just combine it. So 69 is less or equal to x less than equal to 96. And then we can find how many numbers are there between 69 and 96. And then, so we basically just do the subtraction and addition. So here we have 96 minus 69 plus 1. And that should be the final answer. And that is 28. So the answer is 28. 25 is basically counting, so before we do the actual counting, we need to know that there are 4 scenarios in total. So the first one is when all of those numbers are 2023, and the second one is when B and C are 2023. The third one is when C and D are 2023, and the last one is when B, C, and D are 2023. Okay, so for the first scenario, obviously we know that there's only one way, and then for the second one, so what I just is basically just find some examples and in order to find out the pattern, and then so you can start from when A is 1, and after counting we know that like there is 1010 ways, and then when A equals to 2 there are also 1010 ways, and then when A equals to 3 and there are 1009 ways, and then when A equals to 4 and there are also 1009 ways. So after this we can conclude that the number of ways in total is 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 until 1010 plus 1010. That's the end of the pattern. And so this is basically equals to 2 times 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 till 1010. So we can just use the summation formula. So the summation formula is the first term plus the last term divided by 2 and multiplied by the number of terms. So because here we have a 2, here we have a 2, so you know, like the 2 and the 1/2 just cancels out, and so we basically have 1010 plus 1 times 1011 and 1010. There are 1010 terms. So it should be the answer right here. And for the third scenario, again, we just list some examples. And so first, I just let E equal 2026 because 2024 and 2025 don't work. And then E equals to 2027, and then 2028, and then we find out that here is one way, here's one way, there's 2 ways, and then there's 2029 and 2 ways, and then we just jump to the middle of the sequence, and then we notice that here the greatest possible ways that we can arrange those 5 numbers is 1011, and then it just goes down directly. So we can make the conclusion that this entire sequence equals to 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 till 1010 plus 1010 plus 1011, and then it just directly goes down, and plus 1010, 1010 plus 1010 plus 1010 plus 109 plus 109 till plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. And that's the end of the sequence. So 1 1 1 1. There are 4 times of the 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus till 1010, and then we plus the 1011. So this equals to 4 times the first term plus last term divided by 2 multiplied by the number of terms. And these two, this is 2, and this equals to 2 times 1011 times 1010. And this is and this is 2042220. And then we need to add another 1011, and then we add 1011. This should be 2043231, which is the answer over here. And then the last scenario, when B, C, and D are 2023. So here, because we know that all of those middle 3 numbers are 2023, so we basically just need to manipulate one of A and E, and the other one will be dependent on the value of the other. So here we know that like the A can be from 1 to 2022, so here we have 2022 ways. So after that, we just basically add the result of the 4 scenarios up, and then we'll get the number here. And because the question was asking about the sum of the digits, and we just add all of those numbers up, and we get 28. So the final answer is 28.